Good morning, students. This is Miss Williams here. Today is Monday and it's May the 11th. This week we're going to continue our work on two-step equations as I am not 100% happy that you guys are completely there with two-step equations. I think you need some more practice and some more instruction. So I'm going to go back over parts of it this week. I'm also going to have you do some practice with adding and subtracting fractions, as again, last week I saw some weakness in that area. So those are the things we're going to focus on this week. In this video, I am going to focus on two-step equations that involve multiplication with addition or subtraction. The first problem that I'm going to do with you is one that you guys were pretty successful on last week, but for the sake of completeness, I'm going to go over it again. So 3 times some number, and then you add 2, and you get 11. You can think of this in your heads, if it helps you, like this. 3 times something, you add 2, and then you get 11. You can do a trial and error method. You can try the number 2, you can try the number 5, you can try the number 6 until you get to the answer. And you guys may already know that the answer is 3. You can also see this equation this way around. It doesn't make any difference which side the 3x plus 2 is on of the equal sign and which side of the equal sign the 11 is on. Doesn't make any difference. I'm going to show you 2 ways to solve this. You need to think when you look at this equation that what they did first was they multiplied by 3 and then they added 2. So if you do it, if you think of it the way that I did with the diagram last week, what they did was they multiplied by 3 and then they added 2. And they got 11. So going backwards, you're going to subtract the 2 and you're going to divide by the 3. Remember, you do the opposite operation going backwards from the answer. So 11 minus 2 is 9, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So x must equal 3. Now, the way that you would solve this equation with algebra is you're doing exactly the same steps as I did going back up on the diagram. You're subtracting 2 and then dividing by 3. So I'm going to subtract 2, and these become a 0, plus 2 minus 2 becomes a 0. So I have 3x equals 9, which is the 9 that I got in here. Then because I'm undoing multiplication, I'm going to divide by 3. So what this means here is 3 times x divided by 3. And that ends up with just being x. If I did 5 times 2, which is 10, and then divided by 5, I would be back to the 2. So 3 over 3 is an equivalent of 1. So I just get x is equal to 3 as my answer. All right, I'm going to show you another example. This one is one with subtraction in it. 5w minus 2 equals 23. And that could just as easily be written 23 equals 5w minus 2. It doesn't matter which side has the equation and which side has the number. I want you to look at it for a moment. See what operations you see. Also, think of it like this. 5 times something minus 2. What did they do first? What did they do second? And what is the value of w? So w is equal to 5. because 5 times 5 is 25, and then you take away 2 and you get 23. What they did first was they multiplied, and what they did second was they subtracted. So here's what the work would look like. So they started off with W, they multiplied by 5, and then they subtracted 2, and they got 23. You are going to add 2 because you are undoing the subtraction. Be very careful. When you see subtraction in an equation, you're going to do the opposite operation and you're going to add. And then you're going to divide by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So the answer is 5. Here's the algebra way of doing it. You're going to add 2 to both sides. So 5W equals 25. And that's adding the 2 to both sides. Minus 2 plus 2 makes a 0, so you've got a 0 there. And then you're adding the 2 over here. 23 plus 2 is 25. And then, because they multiplied, you do the opposite operation to undo the multiplication. And you divide, and you're going to get W equals 5, because 25 divided by 5 is going to give you 5. So those are 2 problems done for you. This is the kind of the very basic 2-step equation. This one is multiplication with addition, and this one is multiplication with subtraction. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do one with some parentheses in it, because there's a little difference with the ones with the parentheses. So let's have a look at what it looks like when there's parentheses. So here's number 3, and here's number 4. Number 3, we are going to do this problem. Okay, let's read this problem. 4 times the quantity, 5 plus y, equals 32. Excuse me. So 4 times the quantity, 5 plus something, is 32. So what you're thinking about here, everybody, is that you have 2 factors that you are multiplying together. 4 is one factor, and the whole grouping of what's inside the parentheses is the other factor, and multiplied together they give you 32. So 4 times all of this is 32. What number would you put inside the parentheses? 4 times what is 32? 8. So the whole thing of what's inside the parentheses must be 8. So 5 plus something is 8. So the answer for y is 3. Y equals 3, because 5 plus y equals 8, and then y must equal 3. Now that's the way you can kind of think about it in your head before you formally solve it. Here's how you would do it in the diagram. You start with y. Now, what did they do first to y? Did they multiply or did they add? They actually added the 5 first here before they did the multiplication. So they added 5, and then they multiplied by 4, and they got 32. So do you see the order of the multiplication and the addition is different here than it was in problems 1 and 2? Because of the parentheses is forcing the addition first and the multiplication second. So on the way back, you're going to do the division first, because you're undoing the multiplication, and then you're going to do the subtraction. Here's the way that you show your work in algebra. You're going to divide by the 4 first. So that's how you show the dividing by 4. This is a giant 1. 4 divided by 4 is an equivalent of 1. So this is 5 plus y, which equals 8. And then you're going to subtract 5 from both sides. Plus 5 minus 5 makes 0. And y equals 3 is your answer. So the main thing about the parentheses is that the parentheses forced them to do the addition first and the multiplication second. So that means when you're solving it, that you have to undo the multiplication first by doing division, and then do subtraction afterwards to undo the addition. I'm going to do one more problem with you. Here's problem number 4. Let's move this down a little bit on the page. Okay, problem number 4. Three groups, or 3 times the quantity x minus 2 is 15. The first thing you're thinking of when you look at this is 3 times something equals 15. What would you put inside the parentheses there? You guys would think 5. I know, 3 times 5 is 15. So x minus 2 equals 5. A number, you take away something, well, you take away 2 and you get 5. What would that number be to start with? Be careful, because this is subtraction. You need to start with a larger number. What larger number? You take away 2 and you end up with 5. That would be 7. So our x is equal to 7. Now I want to show you the diagram, then I'm going to show you the algebra way to solve it. Here's the diagram. So x they started with, they subtracted 2, and then they multiplied by 3, and they got 15. So you are going to divide by 3, and then you're going to add 2. So you get the answer is 7. Here's the algebra way to show your work. Okay, because the last thing they did was the multiplication, the first thing you do is the division. So you're going to divide both sides by 3. 3 over 3 is an equivalent of 1. 3/3 equals 1. So x minus 2 is equal to 5. Then you're going to add 2 to both sides. Minus 2 plus 2 is 0, so x is equal to 7, and that's your answer. Now, in your work today on formative, we're just going to focus on these types of equations. I'm going to give you 10 problems to do and some IXL practice on fraction addition and subtraction. Okay, have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.